All right, guys. It is 1:40 a.m. on the East Coast. It's like, I don't know, 6:40 a.m. or something like that in England. And I don't know, it's like Monday in Australia already or whatever. We're going really late. This is the UFC Orlando. Let me show you. UFC. I got my Orlando recap show for the Sherdog Radio Network. I am your host. My name is Keith Shillan. Joining me, as always, is the senior editor of Sherdog.com, the great Ben Duffy. Ben, how you doing, man? Ben, I can't hear you. You're on mute.
I'm doing great. Obviously, it's super late. The UFC tends to bounce back and forth between late cards and early cards for these fight nights. This is a late one, but it was worth the wait. I mean, I don't know how deep we'll go into this, but it might be the best free card of the year that the UFC has put out. I mean, it was absolutely dynamite.
Yeah, it was really good. There was like a little lull in the middle, but we had a couple upsets and this and that. I'm going to do something different than we normally do. Instead of starting with the main event, let's start with... Dude, seriously?
There was a lot of that tonight.
I'm going to go after... You are definitely the expert when it comes to music compared to me. Even though I'm married to a music teacher, you are... you usually have your guitars in the background. You are in a band.
Man, I'm in two bands. It's more
there you
than
go.
I can
Two
handle.
bands.
But I mean, what's the question? What are we talking about here?
It's like Eric Clapton over here with all your bands. Dude, what is up with DC not knowing the Foo Fighters? Like, dude, seriously?
It's bizarre, man. He is a wrestler nerd. You and I are both, former high school wrestlers. There's a certain kind of wrestler that it's their only hobby and it's almost all they know about. Like, yeah. I remember back when DC was a fighter on the come up. He was like 4-0 or 5-0 at the time, and he was on the Jordan Breen show. Like, they had him as their featured interviewee, so they talked for like 45 minutes, like him and TJ and DC. And Jordan, of course, was mad for all kinds of your stick and ball sports, and he would try to draw DC out, like, what pro football teams you're into, what college football teams. And he was the most casual dude. He didn't care. I don't think he could have named like all the teams in the NFL. That's what he is, man. Of course he doesn't know music. Of course he doesn't go see movies.
Yeah, Oklahoma State wrestling. That's it.
That's it.
I'll throw it. And guys, we'll get back to obviously we'll talk about the fights, but throw us out to the chat. Ben Cooley does not like DC. I actually love DC. I love
DC. It's hilarious. Like, I wouldn't expect him to know Foo Fighters, even though they're like one of the most popular rock bands in the world. Yeah. Like, I guarantee you the last 10 movies he's seen are just whatever his kids wanted to go see.
Yeah.
Like, the man has no hobbies.
I know everybody in our chat knows who the Foo Fighters are, but how about this? This will be our question of the night. Are you pro or anti Foo Fighters? Do you like them or not? So put in the chat if you like the Foo Fighters or not. I'll give you another one. Dude, seriously. Like, the guy possibly has a broken foot and you stop pushing on it. Like, dude, seriously? Like, you're a doctor? Where'd you get that doctor degree? Is that one of those like Dr. Phil fake like degrees?
Oh my goodness. That's just bizarre. I mean, we're talking about a doctor that let Darren Elkins go back out there, and he was bloody even by Darren Elkins standards. He looked like the end of like the movie Carrie, if we're talking about like movies and stuff, just completely drenched in blood. And ref's like, yeah, he's good. Or the doctor's like, yeah, he's good.
And while you guys do that, I'm gonna take this hoodie sweatshirt. I did it just to UFC Orlando. I drench sweat every single episode. I'm drenched in sweat, so I can't do the hooded sweatshirt. I just want to show off Orlando to try to be in the mood. I was trying to look for Mickey ears, but I couldn't find any. So, all right, let's get into. Oh, did you have any dude seriously before I move on?
I mean, dude, seriously, Mark DeCasey, are you Brazilian? Like, as soon as they read out the 30-27, you knew you didn't win that fight. Quit acting surprised, dude.
That was really weird. It wasn't weird that like he was like doing Well, like I just watched Kayla Harrison interview with Ariel Helwani, and she's like, I'm hoping for a miracle, but not expecting it. But it wasn't even one of those like, oh, I don't know, it's really, I'm in the middle of the action. Let me like close my eyes and kind of like do a prayer. No, he was like, yeah, woohoo! Like, what the hell? Anyways, let's get into the main event. They said they wanted a striking affair. I actually asked Kevin Holland this when I saw him a couple weeks ago. I said, dude, you keep talking about striking affair. Stephen Thompson lost 2 fights in a row. He got wrestled. Why don't you just go out there and wrestle him? He's like, yeah, I probably should do that, but I'm not gonna. And he wasn't lying. I got to ask you this question. So Stephen Thompson won by 4th round stoppage. We'll talk about the corner's work and throwing in the towel and all that in a second. Does Kevin Holland care about winning?
He cares about winning enough to stick around. Like if he ever loses like 3 in a row and he's probably fighting for his job, you'll see serious Kevin Holland. Between now and then, he cares about being a cool dude, picking up some bonus checks if he can, and yeah.
My only concern is if you still have to win to get main event fights, and I mean, yes, I understand you could be Nate Diaz, but that's like a once in a lifetime kind of guy. I don't think Holland has a marketability like him, but not to that grand scale. Like you got to win some fights, dude. Like when was the last time he won a big fight that he was in?
Jacare, that's it.
Okay, Jacare. Yeah,
Jacare and Mearshart are kind of the 2 best wins he had, and those are both at 185.
Yeah, I mean, Chimaev, we kind of give him a pass on that, but he was held down against Brunson, held down against Vittori. No excuse this time. He said he wanted a striking fair. He got a striking fair. He got picked apart. He got beat up. It was really hard. It really looked like at points that this wasn't an MMA fight, and that's what Bob Perez was calling for. It looked like an episode of Cobra Kai, where you got 2 guys striking and spinning wheel kicks and all this, like no grappling. If it falls on the ground, like no one knows how to grapple, so like it gets right back to the feet. Like someone does like a somersault and then right back up.
Yeah.
Yeah, not good. Let's talk about the actual action for a second. How did you have the fight scored before the stoppage?
I had Holland winning the first round. I had Thompson winning the second, third, and fourth with a 10-8 round in there.
The 4th round?
Yeah.
Yep, that we had exactly.
Where it was just basically heavy bag work.
Yeah.
I mean, just hard kicks for 5 full minutes.
Yeah. So Kevin Holland's the kind of guy that I would, if he lived next door to me, we'd be friends. Like I'd be like, yeah, Kevin, I'm watching the fights on Saturday. Why don't you come over? We'll have some beers. We'll cheer for a guy like Tai Tuivasa. It's going to be fantastic. That's what he want. He's going to be a guy that every time he fights, it's going to be fun to watch. But he's not gonna be a guy that if I was a coach, I would want to coach.
And it's funny because, I mean, I live in Houston and I didn't realize, I don't know if he was down here for his whole camp or I would have dropped by. I mean, like Bob Perez has, like kind of wanted me to when he's had prominent fighters getting ready to fight.
Maybe he saw something. Dropping the names over here. Look at you. Holy moly.
It's a big small town. Dude,
hold on a second. Ben, hold on a second. Let me give you enough room to get you off.
See this dude? See what he does to me?
I got it all. I got it all screwed up now.
But when Bob Perez, a guy that comes from a Muay Thai background, former Muay Thai competitor, is telling you, dude, take this man down. It's time to fucking take a man down. Like, dude, seriously?
Well, when he was having that conversation, and I was thinking it in my head, and once he let him up the second time, I'm like, all right, dude, he really isn't going to grapple. What's funny because right away he said, I'm not going to grapple, and then he clinches like 10 seconds of the fight. I'm like, oh, he was doing that like talk, and then when he actually got the fight to the ground and he like let him up, I just kept thinking, where would this fight be standing right now if he didn't let him up in the second and third round? I think it was a second and third round where there was at least 2, maybe even 3 times where he ended up on top.
The second round, like there was one in the first round, but it was late in the round. Second round was where he had an opportunity. and didn't take it, which is kind of interesting because if you're going to spend time on the ground, starting from top position against Stephen Thompson is about as safe as it gets, dude. He's not going to hit you with like an elevator sweep. He's just going to try to, either shrimp and stand back up or just survive until you get stood up. It's unfortunate he didn't at least try some more groundwork, especially once he kind of started favoring the hand, because the route was kind of on, because I was locked in for that fight as long as I thought Holland could turn it around on a dime. But once it became obvious, like he was working with one hand and like that hand was still busy trying to protect his head and his rib cage and his liver. Yeah, dude, you're not outstriking Stephen Thompson, period. That's one thing I learned tonight. It's impossible to outstrike Stephen Thompson without the threat of the takedown.
Yeah, absolutely. Besides, being up rounds, wearing on Stephen Thompson, laying on him for 2, 3, 4 minutes at a time, doing damage on top. Maybe you get a submission. Extremely unlikely, being that Thompson's had really good grapplers who haven't been able to submit him. A guy like Gilbert Burns, for example. Mm-hmm. But wear on the guy, and that completely changes his striking. Maybe his ribs are now hurt, and he can't twist as much, and and he's slowed down. He's beat up a little bit. Now you're winning some stuff, exchanges on the feet, and you're getting the knockout. So yeah, that's one concern I have, and that's why I asked the question: Does he care about winning? I feel like he's one of these guys, and I was listening to Dave Chappelle today, and it's always a good day when you listen to Dave Chappelle. And it was just a little quick highlight talking about why he decided to leave comedy when he left the show for the peak of the Dave Chappelle show, and he was more like, I want to do what I want to do. Like, yeah, I understand that this was, most people think it's crazy to leave and when you're popular and you're making great stuff, but I wasn't making what I wanted to make. And I feel like that's what Holland is. I don't think you'd be happy winning a Mark Diakese, take you down, hold you down type performance.
I agree, but he at least needs to keep it on the table, or he won't be able to get the kind of fights he does want. Like, even if he had just taken one of those opportunities that we mentioned, just take him down, hold him down for the rest of the round, grind your forearm into his neck for a couple minutes, like try to frame up an arm triangle choke, just make him miserable. Even if you don't hurt him, you won the round, and now he has something to think about for the rest of the fight. But Thompson showed no fear of being taken down. And
yeah.
I want to talk for a sec, if I may.
Yeah.
These are not the kind of adjustments I expected to see Stephen Thompson make 2 months shy of his 40th birthday. But that is the grimiest Stephen Thompson fight I've ever seen him win. Because normally, if somebody wants to strike with Thompson, they try to make it ugly. They try to crash the pocket. They try to force the clinch. And he normally wants out of the clinch. This time, he was happy to accept the clinch. He was throwing these on the inside. And, dude, every time Holland touched him, he turned into, like, 2002 shoot-a-box. Like, just starting to wing stuff. I felt like he had a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. Thompson did. Like, for the nicest guy in the UFC, and I know it's like a 10 or 20 way tie, but a guy that's in the team picture for nicest guy in the UFC, I think he was like, oh, you want to make it ugly? Sure, I'll stand and throw like some sloppy hooks at you.
Yeah, I think another thing happened, and this goes with the brilliance of Stephen Thompson, is the amount of experience he's had. Obviously, the like 200 kickboxing matches, the championships in kickboxing, obviously this long run in UFC, plus countless hours and hours of sparring. He's been hurt before. He on the feet, and he knew how to make adjustments. He didn't panic. And one thing I think he kind of said is, "Wow, I'm faster than Holland," which is kind of ironic when you think about the older guy's faster, but the younger guy hits harder. He's like, he's bigger than me, he's stronger than me, he hits harder than me. I need to push him. I need to push him back. I need to start pressing the action. I need to force him on his back foot, which kind of zaps your power a little bit. He starts going to the body, which obviously zaps your power. became tons of kicks, which again, blocking your hands, you stop hurting your right hand. You really want to throw that right hand. It just something that was so brilliant. Now, the moving forward, because now you know how it is. We all live in the moment, and I'm the king of living in the moment. We know that. I still have concerns with Steve Thompson. Now, the offensive tools are still there. He's still fast. He still hits hard. He's still so creative and dynamic and amazing. I'm just worried about the durability. Like, he was hit, he was hurt, he stumbled over. Maybe, if Holland really swarmed, maybe he landed, and he did swarm. But I mean, maybe he catches a perfect shot. Maybe he puts him out. That's the thing I worry about Stephen Thompson moving. It's just, is his durability there? And then, of course, obviously, as a matchmaker, if I want Thompson to make any kind of run, stick around, I'm gonna have to avoid wrestlers as far as I possibly can.
And those are both things I completely agree with. The durability is a problem because Holland hurt him in the first round. At the end of the first round, I was like, oh man, Holland's going to knock this guy out. And obviously it turned after that, but this is a fight. I mean, Kevin Holland is not a top 15 welterweight. And we are already talking here where if he had a different strategy, he might have won this fight.
Yeah. And he could have been a top 15 guy if he had another strategy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good about Holland though. So he's extremely long. He's extremely big. I mean, Stephen Thompson's a long guy for the division, and Holland was dwarfing him. They look like two different weight classes. He's very explosive. He has good power in the division at welterweight. He has a hell of a chin. I mean, he showed that. He was never even dropped by Thompson. He's obviously insanely tough with the broken hand, the willingness to take a fight on short notice. He's got huge balls to fight Shemaev on 24 hours notice. Huge balls. So there's a lot of like about Kevin Holland, but until he has that, I don't want to say Justin Gaethje, but kind of where Justin Gaethje kind of came, like a coming to Jesus moment, where it's not just about entertaining, it's about winning.
Yeah.
Until he has that moment. And again, I don't know if this is a guy, you hear things about him, and I guess this is like rumors, behind the scenes rumors that he doesn't take training seriously. I mean, he's kind of joked about it himself.
Dude. I mean, again, I love Bob Perez, but Bob Perez's top student is Derek Lewis.
Yeah, I know.
And his second might be Daniel Pineda.
Yeah. He doesn't take training seriously. He, doesn't like a major aspect of MMA, that he likes to fool around. He's talking, like how serious he's doing when he's talking and making jokes. And he never, even when he lost, like, I feel what fight was, he was getting held down and he was like talking to the comment. I think it was like Derek Brunson. And even they were like, dude, you're losing. Like, stop. I think it was DC was like, dude, figure out a way to get up. Stop talking. Till he starts. I know Tuivasa kind of had a moment like that too, where he started taking it more serious. I think this is what we're going to get with him.
I agree. I mean, Jay Sachs asked earlier, is he turning into the new Alex Cowboy Oliveira? I think that's a very apt comparison. Oliveira, dangerous fighter, and on any given night could certainly jump up and snatch a top 10 or top 15 fighter, but not consistent enough, and eventually became more enamored with just kind of entertaining and having fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Alex, he's kind of got some of that, but
he kind of changed himself.
Like, Alex Oliveira, I think, high-fived and or hugged his last 7 opponents or something, like during the fight.
Yeah,
like,
that's why
he became that guy.
And that's why he has so many kids. He's always hugging. He's always and I didn't see this in front because we started off with the I mentioned the chat, but the chat is blowing up. Shout out to all the guys. It's nice seeing this continue to grow every week. Shout out to everybody in there. We love you. We just ask that you guys all be respectful, which I haven't seen. I don't know the last time I've ever seen anybody be disrespectful to someone in there. But shout outs, especially all the people who've been with us for a really long time. Stephen Thompson. I was thinking this today because I was thinking about, like, I always kind of think if there's a possibility of a guy retiring, kind of summarizing his career. And then I was thinking, like, he's a guy that that checks so many boxes. For example, like when we talk about the clubs, he qualifies for all the clubs. And I kind of summarize this for some people that don't know what we're talking about. We say when we don't want to get into a debate, is they the greatest ever or something? It's more, are they in the conversation? Or if there was a club, a bar for insert topic, does the bouncer let them in? And I was thinking about Stephen Thompson. I said, what clubs would he get into? He would get in greatest strikers of all time.
Greatest strikers of all time. Greatest fighters never to win a UFC title.
Yep, that's another one. How about traditional martial artists? Your Lyoto Machidas, him, your Kung Lees, the one who have that and obviously he has kickboxing and he has Muay Thai and more of the ones we normally see in MMA, but he has that huge base of a traditional. And when I say traditional, I'm talking about the ones that before Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu kind of like took over, but your Kempo Karates, where everyone would sign their kids up for Kempo Karate and Taekwondo and Kung Fu and Ninjutsu and Jiu-Jitsu and this, that, and most stuff that really isn't that effective in MMA. He was one of those guys. And then obviously like nicest human alive, like throwing be like him and Mr. Rogers and Mother Teresa or something.
Yeah, just genuine good guy. No, I agree on all that. And he might be the greatest practitioner of traditional martial arts in MMA history. Like in purest terms, like Lyoto Machida achieved more. He won a UFC title, but he mixed in a lot more other stuff. He was much more willing to use the ground game if that was his best route to victory. I mean, he had like the kind of weird sumo thing, and then obviously like good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So while he's the guy that everyone thinks of when they think karate and MMA, Stephen Thompson is much more of a purist.
Yeah, and he was more of like, he'd have that bladed stance and he would throw straight shots and he'd have serious power, but you didn't see like spinning wheel kicks. It's like it's a big part of his game. And
the dexterity of that front leg. Like Machida would much more often wait to punch.
Yeah.
Where Thompson, he is using that front, like the kick to all levels as a rangefinder. It's not obviously he's very fast, but it's not the speed so much as it not being telegraphed. It doesn't have quite the same zing as like a Muay Thai guy just swinging fully through with the hip with that like full range of motion. But because it's not telegraphed, because it has a shorter distance to go, it just arrives at its destination faster. I thought Holland's hand speed was pretty good in the first 2 rounds, but Thompson's kicks were just so blindingly fast. Like even before the 4th round, where it was just, again, heavy bag time, he was just touching them up so easily with it. And he does it to everybody. Unless he's afraid to be taken down, he just owns you with his kicks.
Yeah. Okay. What are we going to do with these guys? Who do you want to match these guys up with?
Thompson, I got 2 names, and both for the same reason. They are guys that will either give us an incredible contrast of striking styles, but they're also both willing to wrestle, which gives Thompson something to think about. I got Muslim Salikov and Michel Pereira.
Okay. I think both of those matchups would be wonderful and wonderful.
Yeah, I mean.
So, the one name I had was Michel Pereira just because of the stylistic matchup. I think at this point with Thompson, let's be honest, he's not going to be a title challenger. He's going to be a test for guys. He's going to plunk off guys. That's what he's going to do. Give me a guy like Michel Pereira, and how exciting would that stylist match? The weird stuff that Michel Pereira does, the stuff that Stephen Thompson. Even though Michel Pereira, we've seen a much different guy. We've seen him doing spinning back, fists and all that stuff. That kind of, cartwheels and all that kind of gone away, and it's got a lot more wrestling, a lot more slowing down the pace, saving his energy. So he actually has become a better fighter, but he still can do all that fun stuff. So
it's much more from Pereira. You're getting much more kind of bread and butter kickboxing with occasional flourishes, and he's totally willing to just take your back standing and suplex you. I mean, it's just bananas that he can keep that pace, being as huge as he is for the division. But that'd be a fun fight. And Muslim Salikov for the same reason. And Salikov is kind of sneaky, low key, a guy that's old enough and good enough that he could kind of get fast tracked into the title picture, and Thompson would be the kind of name that could help them do that for him.
Yeah. I'm really disappointed in Holland losing. Not I actually picked him to win, but that's not why. And we don't really root for guys. The reason why I was disappointed, I always root for the story. Like, what's the biggest story I could talk about? What's the most thing I'm most excited to talk about during the recap? And I had the perfect name for Holland if he won. And he didn't win, so I can't give him this guy. I'll tell you in a second. I need to get Holland to win. I need to get Holland to win, but he can't seem like a softball. But I want a guy who is going to stand and bang with him, but also will challenge him if they wrestle. And I'm going to go with the guy that was right on this card, because how fun would it be if Kevin Holland and Nico Price went at it?
That's what I had too. like Price is I have a couple names and situations for all the others. Holland just says Price. I'm there.
I'll give you the name I was going to go with. I figured Holland would win. He'd get another main event, or even like third from the top of a pay-per-view, big name. Maybe he gets in a scuffle backstage with somebody again, and you know, I would have called up Jorge Masvidal.
Oh yeah,
they fight once backstage, then they fight again on Saturday night, and all this shit. It's not happening now. So, all right, let's move on. That was a lot of time we spent on the main event, and we still have 13 more fights to go. This fight, I don't think we're really going to spend a lot of time on it, because overall, I think I went 9-4. I don't know what your record was. I'm probably about the same.
9. We both went 9-5.
Oh, 9-5. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I got the Guida call right, and you got the Delize call right, and the rest of them we picked the same.
We picked the same. Okay. The one fight that I felt like we absolutely slammed, and then really everybody slammed, so we can't take too much credit, was Rafael dos Anjos versus Brian Barberino. I said it was like such a terrible stylistic match. Brian Barberino is the worst fighter in the UFC on the ground. He's in the club. He's in the club. I don't want to debate it. He's in the club.
South of heavyweight, he might be.
Okay. We went over the stat of how many times he gets taken down.
Yeah.
I mean, it's terrible out there. I would have a better chance stopping takedowns from Bo Nickel than Brian Barberino has stopping takedowns from anybody in the UFC. So I mean, this is exactly what we expect. RDA got inside. He kept hitting that inside trip, but he was kind of doing it from the outside too. What I always like to think of when, like, the first takedown I ever learned in my life, it was Royce Gracie did to Gerard Gordeau, and I was like, the move I used to do, like press my friends against the fence and like stick my foot behind their leg like that.
Yeah.
So he did that. He took him down. He almost had an arm choke. Then he finished him in the second round. I think it was a rear naked choke. He finished him with.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about the fight. Do you really want to talk about it? Nice of RDA to get a win, but I want to talk about his call up. He called out Conor McGregor. I will say this, and I'm going to let you answer this question first. RDA deserves a Conor McGregor fight. No doubt about it. He's got the most time in the UFC now. They were supposed to fight. He's got huge wins. Ben, and you know where I'm going to go with this. Tell me why Conor McGregor would take a fight like that. Besides, Conor McGregor likes to challenge himself, tough stylist, match himself. Besides that part, promotionally, why would he take that fight?
I mean, I'm trying to think if that would even help him build towards a rivalry fight with anybody else. I mean, he really loves tormenting Brazilians. He really got RDA's goat by calling him out for having moved to the States 10 years ago.
Do you do the red panty? You show the old clips of the red panty and all that. They
red
show
panty night.
The old face off and him talking about getting a bruise on his foot and all that, whatever it was.
Yeah, I mean that would.
I've seen everybody, people I respect too. A lot of people I respect saying, "Oh my God, that's the perfect call. It makes so much sense." And I'm like, no, it doesn't. Anyways, so You're the UFC, so now take Conor out. We're the ultimate promoters. No one, we're the ultimate dictators. Nobody has a choice. Are you making that fight?
No.
Not
No.
under any
If Conor's willing to take another fight, I'm going to try to make it a winnable one.
Well, I think RDA is winnable. I do. I think it's extremely challenging, but I do think it's winnable. Being that he's older, even though he's moved up in weight, he's actually gotten smaller. It's just being he's getting older, and obviously I'd worry about the damage he could take. But the question I have about Conor is, it's been what, 2 years now? How many years has he won since he won when he beat a really washed up Donald Cerrone? It's been how many years? 3 years?
3.5. Oh, yeah, 3.5. And dude, have you seen him recently? He looks like he's aged 15 years in 2 years. Like, dude, his face looks older than mine, and I turn 50 next year.
Wow,
he looks older.
Ben, not everybody can be as handsome as you, man. Yeah,
I'm just saying, and I drink too much too. Like I don't know what his excuse is.
Benjamin Button over here.
But more importantly, he is so huge right now. I mean, he looks. I look at Conor McGregor now, and I'm like, I see a 5'8", 210-pound guy with a really big left hand. Like, dude, I love Melvin Manoof as much as the next guy, but this is 2022. Like, who cares?
Yeah. Yeah. There's only one fight I'm trying to make if I'm the UFC. I'm calling up Nate Diaz. I'm calling him up and say, listen, I don't give a fuck how much money you can make from Jake Paul. You can make more money with a third fight with Conor McGregor. Yep. One fight contract, no other things. Call your shots. Like, where do you want to do it? You want to do it in California? Okay, we'll do it in California. Oh, you want to do it? You want to go to Ireland? We'll do it. You want to do New York City? We'll do it. Like, where you want to do it? You want to do it on a freaking boat, on a sailboat going out to freaking the Bahamas? We'll do it there. Like, where you want to do it? You want to, like, that's what you want to do in the parking lot? We'll do it Stockton, like wearing clothes, whatever you want to do. That's the fun I'm doing. It makes the most sense for the Conor McGregor. It makes the most sense for Nate Diaz, and I don't think there's a fight in the UFC that could be bigger than that one.
No, it's the biggest fight for Conor. It's the most plausibly winnable fight for him. It would probably be a fun fight. Yeah, it makes too much sense, which is why it's not going to happen.
There's only one fight that I think that would make more money than Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz 3, and that's if Islam Makhachev hit Khabib Nurmagomedov with the belt in the cage. So that said, what would you do with RDA?
Okay. As far as I'm concerned, this was a nice win, but RDA still comes up against a hard ceiling against the big bullies at the top. You use him to keep making people's names, or trying. I give him Jack Della Maddalena.
Ooh. Why do you hate RDA? First,
I don't hate RDA. I love RDA.
First you go from, I'm definitely not giving him the money fight that he deserves. And then you're punishing by, man, wow. I was going with like another guy in the same boat as him. I was giving Dan Hooker. Again, this is...
So you send him back down to 155.
Oh, shit. He's up at 170 now, right? I forgot that. Fuck. Yeah. No.
Like,
no,
Dev,
you're right. I keep him at 170. I mean, if he wants to go 155, that's fine. I was thinking about... Yeah, you're right. He was at 170 tonight. Fine. Have him fight Brian Barberino again.
And I mean, Jay Sex is like, he's a top 10 caliber guy. Let's go with Sean Brady to see if Brady can sink or swim. I like that because Brady is representative of, again, what awaits RDA if he wants to make a title run at 170. They're all huge guys. Most of them are great wrestlers and heavy top position guys. I mean, that's just who they are. Usman, Edwards, Covington, Brady. All of whom have beaten RDA. And Sean Brady's another one. The thing is, Sean Brady, like, you put them in a fight night headliner, and it's like, well, Sean Brady, can you do it for 5 rounds? Because if you can't, Frankenstein, I mean, I know he's a zombie, but he looks like Frankenstein. Frankenstein's going to just get up and kill you in the 4th and 5th rounds. Like RDA, like, he still absolutely has that.
Yeah, my only issue with giving Sean Brady the fight is the fact that he lost his last fight. Does he deserve a name? Like, no, I would favor him right now over RDA, but does he deserve a name in RDA?
I think the UFC might look at it as like kind of a bounce back / prove it fight for him, but this also has to be partly about what RDA deserves. If he's serious about staying in contention, then you can't go too far down the.
Damn, I was feeling so good about my Dan Hooker pick, and then I forgot that he was at 170. And there's no like I'm going through the 170 rankings, finding my Dan Hooker, who's like equal to RDA right now and like equal name value. And
Luke Wilson says could give him Luque. I like the Luque fight. I mean, anytime a UFC welterweight is coming off a win and they're not like in the top 10, I always got like my homie Alex Morono like at the top of the deck. It's like he'll take another legend. Let him complete his set of Pokemon.
Give Alex Marino that fight. Yeah, you got me. But whatever you guys say, I screwed that one up. I'm sorry, guys. Stop jumping around weight classes, RDA. You're making me look like an idiot. Before that, Matt Schnell took on Matthias Nicolau. We've kind of known he's been good for a while. He was a big favorite, but this was kind of his really breakthrough performance. Ooh. As it's been many fights now where he just gets guys to chase him, has a little bit of like a Yoel Romero kind of situation where he getting them chasing, he's moving around, so they kind of get lulled, they kind of get kind of bored, and then he springs in and he lands pure shots. And every time he did it, he was dropping Schnell that left hook. We don't get stoppages often at flyweight, especially the higher we go up. Well, I shouldn't say that. We do because of their power. That's why they're higher up. But I mean, just generally speaking, the division, we don't get a lot of stoppages. Nicolau getting a beautiful stoppage. He's a contender, right? There's no doubt this guy like could hold the title one day.
He's won 5 in a row, and the Manel Kopp win was kind of shaky. It was a split decision. Some people had it for Kopp, but he's on a 5-fight win streak. And by the time the traffic in front of him, like we're going to talk about matchmaking, by the time the traffic in front of him sorts itself out, he should be right there. I mean, he's a fresh face. He's just 26 years old. So even if he goes up and he loses to somebody who's like 33, like Figueiredo, or I mean, even Moreno's older than him, and Moreno's like a super young champ, he's gonna have more chances.
Yeah, when I was looking at what to do next with him, like the only guy I could come up with is because of Moreno and Figueiredo holding up the division, is either you wait to that matchup and you kind of give him, you kind of have two things. You can wait a while, not book him for a while, and give him the loser of that fight. Finally give Pantoja the title shot that he deserves. And, he faces a loser, kind of almost a tournament style. Or you do it a tournament style where he faces Pantoja like a couple weeks after they fight. Or maybe you try to squeeze it on the same card. Something like that as a number one contender. Or being Figueiredo's history, you let Nicolau weigh in as a backup. Being that
it's interesting. I mean, you mentioned this. Another thing in Nicolau's favor is a lot of the guys in the title picture have demonstrated problems making weight. A lot of the guys in the top 10 do. Like obviously Figueiredo. Schnell, whom he just beat, has missed weight. He's missed weight badly, and this time he had to like shave himself and turn himself into like the Silver Surfer or something to be able to make weight. Alex Perez has missed weight. Just tons of these dudes have missed weight.
Well, it's obvious why. It's 125 pounds. They're grown men who just keep It's funny when we get these flyweights that come on the scene and they're young, we get all excited about them. Like, oh, this guy's definitely going to win the 125-pound title. We always have to kind of like put that curse out there. If he can stay at 125.
Yeah, that's really it. And Nicolau is 26 right now. He is making weight with greater ease than just about anybody in that top 10. I think Pantoja just has to be next. But by the time Figueiredo and Moreno finish with this, they're going to have had the title tied up for almost 2 full years. There's a line starting to form here. Yeah. And I think you do Pantoja. I'm fine with giving Nicolau either like the loser of Figueiredo and Moreno, or if David Dvorak beats Manel Kopp in a couple weeks, give him Dvorak. Because at this point, it might be 7 or 8 months before the title picture's really cleared. So he does need another fight in between there just to kind of stay in, like to kind of keep his hand in and get another paycheck. So, I mean, hell, even if Kopp beats Dvorak, they can sell it saying, you know what? Yeah, he beat Kopp, but MMAdecisions.com, 3/4 of the people either thought it was a draw or thought that that Kopp should have won.
Yeah, and that's obviously if Kopp makes weight himself. Another guy that has missed weight. And
or wait, did Nicolau beat Dvorak already? Am I that dumb?
He did.
Oh, it's two guys he's already fought. Then forget me.
It's a shallow division, so they do fight each other a lot. Yeah. I mean, it might be a long time because obviously Pantoja and Figueiredo and Moreno's gonna have to do their seven fight series, like baseball and basketball. They gotta do the best of 7. Snell, real quick. We'll go real quick. The thing about Snell that I think is always gonna be the issue is just a chin. He doesn't have his chin. Always fails him in the elite. Like that's what's keeping him from being an elite fighter.
And how much do you think that has to do with having a stupid weight cut? I've stood in front of
his style too. Not today, not tonight. He didn't have a brawling style, but generally
he didn't have a chance to.
Yeah.
But no, he's normally a wild man, and he has a giant weight cut. And I mean, a lot of people in that division are kind of like that, honestly. Like Pantoja is a bit like that. Alex Perez is a bit like that. Hell, Moreno is a bit like that. But dude, maybe he needs to move up to 135. I've been face to face with Matt Schnell a bunch of times. Like he's from Texas by way of Louisiana, so they put him on a lot of the cards here. I've stood face to face with him, and he's almost like he's less than an inch shorter than me, and his shoulders are about the same width. And like, dude, I was a 160-pound high school wrestler, and I'm over 200 now. It's ridiculous that a dude with basically my same frame like makes 125 pounds.
I just wanted to throw this one on the stage. We're gonna answer that on our preview show.
Moreno's gonna be saying new phone, who this, and
and not saying our preview show of that fight, but like we're taping UFC 282 tomorrow, so we'll get back to you. So I'm gonna put a pin on that just because we have a shitload of fights we still have to talk about. I was ready. I had a shoey. I had an idea for a shoey we were going to do. That did not happen as Sergey Pavlovich knocked out Tai Tuivasa as quick as it does to make a shoey. I think it was like, 49 seconds. I don't know the exact time, but it was under a minute. Sergey Pavlovich is a machine. Another first round KO, 5 in a row. I'm going to put you on the spot, Ben. You can never change your opinion. Someone cut this. Either Ben will look like a genius or he'll look like an idiot. Is the next heavyweight champion of the world Sergey Pavlovich?
No.
Okay. The easy answer is always say no because maybe he wins it 2 people. Maybe he wins it 2 people from now.
I mean, if you ask me, is he a champ at some time within the next 3 years? The answer is yes. He either wins a title outright or he's the guy who's in place when Ngannou or Gon or Blades or somebody like gets a bad cold and can't pick up his phone for a week, and Dana, being the nervous git that he is, declares an interim title.
Yeah.
So he's going to have some kind of UFC hardware within the next 3 years. But I said that about Tom Aspinall, and he blew a tire. So maybe I should knock on glass here.
Yeah, and we never know what could happen if he get hurt. He could lose. The thing right now with the current champion Francis Ngannou, we know that he's actually becoming a free agent. Sometime in December, he actually becomes free agent. The talks, I know I was listening to Ariel Helwani, he was saying that it sounds like a contract's going to get done with him in the UFC. Hopefully, I mean, that would be oh my God if he actually left as the heavyweight, as the baddest man on the planet. Sounds like that's going to happen. 2 things I would do with Sergey Pavlovich in the meantime. First is I avoid all wrestlers with him. And the reason why I say I avoid all wrestlers, we've seen him wrestle. Like they be talking about the kickboxing. We've seen him wrestle on Fight Night Global. It's been a really long time. But we've also seen
We saw him get wrestled in Fight Nights Global.
Yeah, we've seen him, and we've seen him on his back against Alistair Overeem. Again, the guy that we always like to put that little nugget out there, extremely underrated grappler, but we've seen him get taken down and get swarmed.
Yep.
I do not match Sergey Pavlovich against Curtis Blades. No, not happening. Like eventually, if they fight for the title, sure. But in the meantime, like, let's be honest, the UFC doesn't want Curtis Blades to be the champion.
No, they don't want Curtis Blades to be the champion. He's a grinder. He has the personality of oatmeal. And dude,
well, in fairness, he has been knocking guys out.
He has been. Well, he's been knocking like Chris Daukaus out.
Hey, but Chris Daukaus' chin is looking better than Kyle Daukaus' chin right now.
Yeah, like Chris. Anyway, no, some of his fights have been more exciting, and he does have like some personality. I'm overstating, but like he's not the Cyril Gane genetically designed in the lab to steal your girl. He's not Francis Ngannou where you can just go, he hits like a Ford Escort running over you at 30 miles an hour, and it's just easy to put him up there as like, this is the baddest man on the planet. He's not as easy a sell. So I completely agree.
So everybody is saying Pavlovich versus Gane is the next match. Everybody's saying that. You guys are all wrong. I'm going to tell you what the next matchup is in a second, because I'm always right. You guys are always wrong. But the second thing I would do with him, you got to work on his personality. Like, I'm sorry, Ben's the purist. I'm not. I try to be like, I refer to pro wrestling, but if me and Ben were pro wrestler, our personality wise, like you're the Bret Hart, you're the purist, you're that guy. I'm the Shawn Michaels. I mean, it's not about how well you can do the drop kick. It's about how well you can like throw yourself over the top ropes when you get punched. He like him saying like, oh, after he decimates Tai Tuivasa, like, oh, Tai Tuivasa is really strong, and I like him. He's going to be really good. He'll bounce back from this. Hey, DC, you taught me to believe in myself. Like, no. You're Sergey Pavlovich. You're first round knocking everybody out dead Russian. People are calling you the Russian Francis Ngannou. No, you know what you need to do? He needs to come out with a Nikolai Volkov hat.
The hat, all right.
Yeah, and he shouldn't talk. They need to get like a manager for him, and like the only thing he should do, and that's what Juice X says, is like, I must break you. If he dies, he dies. Like, that needs to be you. You need to be the scariest Russian guy coming in and invading America. Like, that's what we need. You need to be the real life Ivan Drago.
He needs to go and like train secretly, and nobody knows where he trains, but everyone suspects that like he and James Krause are just like off somewhere, and just James Krause is like teaching him like in secret. Yeah, he doesn't have a whole lot of personality. At the very best, he might turn into like a Jan Blachowicz type, like just kind of a nice dude. I'm happy to be here, and I got this crazy accent. No, like he's not an easy sell for anything other than the in-cage product.
Yeah, like his next fight, like he needs to walk down to the cage with a bear, like an actual bear. Like when Charles Oliveira was walking around with like a lion, like he needs to walk around with a bear on a leash as he walks down to the cage. Like he needs to be the scariest dude in the world. Like that's how you got to mark this guy, not friendly Russian guy who's gonna punch you, one punch knock you out into oblivion. No. Like we had the Junior Dos Santos guy. We don't need another one of those. Cyril Gane obviously is a great matchup. Stylistically, it's a fantastic matchup. I don't do that. I put him in Russia, and there's only two options. You find like who's like the Apollo Creed of the UFC. Like you find that guy. I don't know who that is. Maybe the Huggy Bear there.
Former champ who might die if they fight.
Rady
Arlovsky.
yeah. Rady Couture. What's the Huggy Bear guy? What's his?
Chris Barnett.
Chris Barnett, yeah, have him go Chris Barnett dancing that actually dies in the cage. No, put him in Russia, and we get an all Russian main event. Him and Volkov, all Russian main event, fight night in Moscow or someplace like that. All Russian. You at least like get one part of the world super happy.
That's gonna be put off for quite a while, considering. I mean, when's the next time the UFC is going to be able to try to go to Russia?
Why is something going on in the world that I don't know about? Oh yeah. Jeez, I'm so. I was thinking something about. I was thinking like World Cup, right? I tried watching the World Cup today. I watched for 30 seconds and I go, I'm not gonna do it again. And all the Europeans are sleeping. Like, who cares? Yeah. What a fucking boring sport. I'd rather watch Mark Diakese hump people than freaking watch soccer. Anyways, Tuivasa. It doesn't. He has his personality. It doesn't matter if he loses. And yeah, West Coast is right. They're not going back to Russia, so scratch that. But fuck it, yeah, they can. There are a lot of American companies do business in Russia. Do it in Russia.
I mean, there's like a literal embargo right now. It would be tough to pay the fighters, but I mean, with Tuivasa right now, you got two options. Like, I agree. I think we've kind of seen the top of his arc as an actual contender. Like, but if you want to use him to build contenders, give him Alexander Romanov. Romanov is still a hot property. He just had his first loss. Like, use this as either a bounce back fight for Tuivasa or Romanov, or if you just want to see like blood and sweat fly and have a 50-50 chance of seeing a man drink beer out of a shoe, give him the winner of Rosenstrike versus Dawkess.
Yep, that's the one I went with. Because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he wins or loses now.
Right. Like neither Rosenstrike nor Dawkess is within 4 wins of a title shot. Tuivasa's now lost 2 in a row.
Yeah.
So he's a little closer just because he's like such a big personality, but he's not that close.
Yeah, as long as he always fights in a live crowd. And enough of this. Enough of the, like, you saw it tonight, like, enough being in Vegas in the performance center there. Like, stop. It's time to get back on the road. Go everywhere. Apparently, you can't go to Russia. Apparently, I don't watch the news enough. You can't go to Russia. But everyone's killing me for that. I'm trying to bring the world back together, but geez, everyone's killing me for that. I'm trying to be a peacemaker over here. But yeah, like, be in freaking Toronto, be in Boston, be in Brazil, be in Canada, be in wherever. Just don't do it together.
How much less would this card have been? How much would we have missed if this had been in front of like an Apex crowd? How different would Holland versus Thompson have been?
Yeah, you would have heard Holland more. That's about it. Like, that would have been the only advantage, but all the fights, all the knockouts, it cheapens the product.
Yeah,
like, imagine you watch a football game and a team scores a touchdown, and well, obviously when I'm talking football, I'm talking American football, not that terrible sport you guys watch.
Like, dude, like Phil Rowe talking about his mom's cancer in an empty Apex, like, dude, as much as I hope and like want the best for his mom, I'm like, this is uncomfortable. I don't like this. Yeah. They're like, dude, I was like getting choked up.
Yeah. Yeah. You got one person like, hey, keep your head up. Like no, like, yeah, like that. It needs to be for contender series. And that's it alone. Like, yeah, I know the pandemic and whatever, but come on, get on the road. Before that, speaking of get on the road, Jack Hermansson versus Roman Dolidze. Roman Dolidze winning by second round TKO. If he finished the calf slicer and Hermansson tapped out, we would have had probably submission of the year.
Wow, it was so impressive.
The only thing I was thinking of when he did that was, what award does he get in the UFC? I mean, should be in the Sherdog awards. I think this, like, knockout of the night, knockout of the year, not submission. Like this can't happen, and he not get an award.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna do my own set of like my awards around the end of the year, but all the ones I have are negative. Like, I mean, I might have to just do a most gangster shit I saw this year award just to like include this in there.
Yeah. Obviously, Roman Dolidze did a scramble, got a calf slicer on Jack Hermanson. We've seen calf slices, not often, extremely rare, but he got to the position where he had the calf slicer where Hermanson was stuck face down, like you've seen. Honestly, and I think guys kill me because I always do WF references. It reminded me of like a WF move where like guys in a sharpshooter or figure four Lego and they can't move and they're pretending like, oh, I can't, I'm stuck here, and then like someone's kick, and then the partners kick him in the head. They can't move. Like that's what it was.
Yeah,
it was Hermanson's leg is stuck. He can't move. He's face down, and Dolidze's punching him in the side of the head.
I mean, he turns around and he's got a scorpion deathlock on him, basically. You know,
yeah,
like it's remarkable. I mean, you mentioned calf slicers are rare. Calf slicers north of about 155 pounds are extinct. Like the people who do them in MMA, they're smaller and they're the best grapplers in the history of the sport. Like that's Charles Oliveira shit. You know, that's Masakazu Imanari shit. Like, yeah.
Chase is killing me today.
Chase.
He's killing me.
It's still real to Chase. It's still real to me, damn it.
Chase is getting my listener of the night.
I love it.
It's funny because it wasn't going good for Dolidze, and he was getting Hermanson. It was like he's getting outpointed. Hermanson's just moving, kicking him. I'm sitting there and I'm like, what is Dolidze doing? Like, you're the raging guy. That's like how I picture you. You're going to go berserker on him. That's how you're not the technical guy, and that's how you're going to win. And then I'm like, oh, maybe he can wrestle because he's a strong wrestler. No, he's getting taken down. But I had no idea about his like bottom game. Yeah. I mean, he sweeps him at one point, and then later on he didn't sweep him all the way, but he swept him to a scramble because Hermanson's so good. He didn't get swept to his back, but he sweeps off the bottom. Later on, he scrambles, goes to an inverted triangle, switch from that triangle to this calf slicer. I mean, it was absolutely fantastic. This guy's a top 10 guy. Yeah, dude, I'm loving Dolidze. I'm loving this guy.
I keep on being skeptical, and I keep on being wrong. I'm like, he's too old. He's too unproven. Like you don't show up in the UFC at age 32 with 8 fights and make a run at it. Moving down to 185 was a terrible idea. I just keep being wrong about Roman Dolidze, and I just need to get over it. Like dude, just surprisingly versatile, surprisingly game. He's not a front runner because really Hermanson was winning the fight up until he lost. Like it was close, but I thought Hermanson was winning. And I can't give him enough credit for moving down from 205 to 185 the right way. Like actually retooling his body. Like I think,
but still being huge and scary and muscular. And
oh yeah, I mean he's still terrifying, but it doesn't look unsustainable for him to fight at 185.
Yeah, so I was thinking of what we do with him, and again, middleweight is such a different now that the top is gone. Now that Pereira is the champion, and if he, I'm assuming Adesanya is getting the rematch, and if he beats Adesanya again, how different will the division be then if Pereira is now taking on title challenges? Dolidze is not that far away. And I'll throw this to the chat, and you guys tell us what you would do with him. I see a lot of people saying versus Vittori versus Strickland Cannonier. I go with the guy that Hermanson was supposed to fight tonight. I give him Derek Brunson.
Ooh. I was thinking like the Strickland Cannonier winner, but I like Brunson.
I seen people throwing out Darren Till. Obviously, Darren Till has a really tough matchup next week against Duplessis. If he wins that, I'm down with that. I'm down with Till versus Dolidze. I think it'd be a really marketable fight.
Yeah.
That's a big if. You know, Hermanson. To me, he doesn't fall off too much. But the problem with Hermanson is like every time he gets traction, he has these moments.
Yeah.
Like he had it like, oh, like this guy might get a title shot. Then he loses to Derek Cannonier. Gets a couple wins. Now he loses to Roman Dolidze. What would you do with Hermansson?
I think he needs to step down. He's lost against all of the really good fighters he's fought. I think it's time for him to be an opportunity for somebody who's earned it. I like the winner of Cody Brundage versus Michal Oleksiejczuk 2 weeks from now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. I didn't think of those names, but I was thinking the same thing. Like kind of like when he fought Chris Curtis.
Yeah,
it's going to be a tough matchup. He's going to be tricky and all that. Mikey M throws out Eminov versus Gastelum. Hermansson recently beat Gastelum. Imavov wins. That makes a lot of sense. But I came with Brendan Allen. He's a guy. He's on a winning streak. Kind of deserves a like a fight night co-main event or something like that. Opener of a pay-per-view.
Has Allen actually missed weight, or has he only had a couple of catch weights because they were like short notice or weird stuff? I'm trying to remember now.
That I don't know. I don't think he's missed weight. He's a pretty professional dude. I don't think he's missed weight. He's a huge guy.
He is. Hermansson versus Phil Hawes. I mean, Hawes is the ceiling.
Hawes gets smoked 2 or 3 times now.
Yeah, but I mean, Hermansson's lost bad in like half of his recent fights too.
Yeah. Okay.
Hawes is the prototype. He is the exact kind of fighter that Hermansson could just find a way to totally neutralize and take advantage of. Like more physically gifted, not as well-rounded. Like he's the kind of guy that, unless he sparks Hermansson, I got Hermansson all day.
Yeah. Dev throws out the most middleweight matchup of all time: Hermansson versus Brad Tavares. I just think of middleweight. That Brad Tavares is if I think of middleweight, Brad Tavares is the first guy I think of. There's like
Brad Tavares is like the Walgreens of the UFC. Just every time you look, there's one.
There he is.
Yeah, like is there only one Brad Tavares, or does the UFC just they have like a closet full of Brad Tavareses, like Joe Rogan has black shirts that are too small for him, and they just pull out a fresh one every time he needs a fight.
Have you ever been to Hawaii?
Only as a child.
Okay, so I went to Oahu. I don't know how the rest of the islands are, but Oahu, there is an ABC store. I don't know. I've never seen ABC stores in my life. There's an ABC store every corner. It's unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it. It's like a souvenir shop, but they have like food, and it's kind of like a Walgreens, I guess, or like a Cumberland Farms or something like that. But that's Brett Tavares, the ABC. He has like a Hawaiian connection, so he can get the ABC store. Before that, Alabama. It looks like is it official? Alabama's not in the playoffs, right?
I mean, we'll have to wait for the final word, but basically it's impossible at this point.
Okay. But Alabama football did get a win today as Eric Anders knocked out Kyle Dawkins in the second round.
I mean, but this was the equivalent of Alabama playing like Council Bluffs School of Trucking or, Southern Utah College of Court Stenography and Nursing.
Wow.
I'm done with Dawkins, dude.
Say that last one again.
Southern Utah College of Court Stenography and Nursing.
What do you have against what is the court stenography? What the hell?
Well, there were like one place I lived. There was like this weird, those trade schools that are like in just 6 short months you could have a new career in, and one of them was court stenography, and I'm like, that like? Are there that many? Like the people. You're a cop. You know.
I know what the hell you were saying. It was like it's late. It's freaking 2:44 in the morning.
I'm done with August.
Yeah, I'll say this. Anders did come out a lot more aggressive, which is really good. Can we? When they give, someone becomes famous and they get like a honorary degree from a university, they speak at the. How many views do we got to get where Ben's famous enough to get an honorary degree from Southern Utah College of Court Stenography and Nursing?
I'm more likely to get like someone coming to like beat me up next time I'm in Utah. I mean, I lived there for like 15 years.
Yeah. If you go to that college and you watch the show, we're not dogging the college. You could hope you're a great court stenographer or something, but let's get Benny honorary degree.
I'll take him. Put him on my wall next to all my wife's like real degrees.
I'll say this about Anders and Dawkins. Anders look good, but I think it really, and you kind of hinted at it, I think it says more about Dawkins at this point. I just think he recently had surgery on his face. I think his chin is gone. Like he was getting dropped with every blow. And Eric Anders, he looks like he hits hard. Historically, he doesn't. And Dawkins was dropping with like every like glancing blow.
He was dropping, and he was also looking like he didn't want to fight anymore.
Yeah.
And that to me, dude, Rory McDonald was never the same fighter after Robbie Lawler destroyed his nose.
Yeah.
Well, just like he still got a bunch of good wins. But
yeah,
like his ceiling after that was
he sounded like Lev suddenly. inside a joke. Yeah.
Also,
it looked that Darren fucking Elk has never had in his life.
Yeah.
Eric Anders called out Jamie Pickett for next week. I highly doubt that happens, but if they do, if the UFC is going to somehow get Eric Anders and Jamie Pickett on next week's card, like they have until 9:00 tomorrow, because me and Ben has to preview that. So that's your timeline. Before that, Nico Price took on Philip Rowe. Philip Rowe winning by third round TKO. A little bit of a tainted win, being that Philip Rowe, who already is like the biggest human being alive, he welterweight missed by 2.5 pounds.
Yeah.
Rose, he's on a nice winning streak. He's well rounded. He started off as supposed to be the scrappler, and now he's striking, and then then he got a takedown, and he's well rounded and he's got power. My only question is, when Nico Price is putting a pace on you and he's out volleying you, and you get a late third round stoppage, do you, if you cut down those 2.5 pounds?
That's a good question, because that third round is a round of the year candidate. It was absolutely wild. Both guys were hurt. Both guys were close to being finished, but Rowe was able to recover and Price was not. And as you say, that's that extra 2.5 pounds. I mean, by the time you get to fight week and you're doing your water cut, if you have 2.5 pounds on somebody, it's not 2.5 pounds of muscle. That was determined 8 weeks ago. If you have that much more water in your brain case,
Yeah.
Like,
Rhodes on a nice streak, and he definitely has almost like when we talked about Kennedy and Chuku, like he has these natural gifts, but he's pretty tactical. He's going to be a tough stylistic matchup for a lot of people. But I'm not going to give him too much for this. Like, he beat a guy that was out for a long time. He missed weight. Price was coming back on him.
And Price he's the most beatable fighter that good in the UFC.
Yeah. Which is why we give him to Holland.
And yeah, like, exactly, because he has all the offensive tools, but if you're in a fight with Nico Price, you're going to get a chance. Like, whatever your best thing is, you're going to get a chance to try it on Nico Price and see if it works. He's kind of like a welterweight Julian Erosa that way, where Erosa's got all the tools, but ultimately he doesn't care whose highlight reel this fight ends up on, as long as it's somebody's.
Yeah. Before that, Angela Hill took on Emily Ducote. We had some really good calls. I mean, Philip Rowe was a underdog to Nico Price. That was one that we both called. This might be our worst pick. I was on the fence a little bit. Like, I didn't make it sound like it was going to be a thrashing. A lot of people made it sound like it was going to be a thrashing for Emily Ducote. Neither you and I were in that camp. Yeah, there was a thrashing. It was the other way. Angela Hill. I think it's a beatdown of the year candidate. It was that bad.
I mean, it was super bad, but then, it might not even have been the beatdown of the weekend, because Rainier de Ritter just got absolutely slaughtered last night. But
yeah, and so did Darren fucking Elkins.
Dude,
might have been on the card.
Yeah, I will say, I mean, I had Ducote in this one, but as I said on the preview, it's mostly because I've given up trusting Hill, and she comes out with the best performance of maybe the best performance of her career. The only one I might say is a better performance is the fight she should have won against Claudia Gadelha. Because there, by all rights, she should have gotten a decision win over like a borderline top 5 fighter.
Yeah.
But here, like this is how Angela Hill should fight every time if you're coming at her. Like she was not gun shy. She managed the distance against a bigger, stronger woman who normally would have bullied her around and made her uncomfortable the whole fight. But no, she just chewed her up all night. I mean,
yeah. I tweeted out that I didn't know if it was a good performance from Angela Hill or a terrible performance from Emily Ducote, because Ducote, she did not match Hill's volume at all. It was like 3-1 strike total, just thrown. Then she was fighting off her back foot the whole time. Like you said, she was getting bullied. She was staying in this kickboxing range, the one era where she couldn't stay in on the outside kick. She really needs to get inside. The thing that helped her win her last fight was these beautiful calf kicks. Did she throw a calf kick? I mean, obviously she did, but like it was not part of her game. And then, let's not forget that Emily Ducote comes from a wrestling background. Angela Hill has always struggled against wrestlers. You didn't even shoot a takedown. Did she shoot a takedown one time?
No, it was the Kevin Holland fight.
Yeah, it was just a terrible mental, like poor fighter game plan. It was one of those ones. If I was a corner man, I would have been going. I would have been Saif Sayud sound like he was silent. I would have been going crazy yelling at her. I would have threw a chair in the cage in the middle of the fight. Like I went Bobby Knight on it. It was terrible.
I was literally going to say get kicked out of there like a college basketball coach.
Yeah,
That's
me and James Krause are banned from the UFC. Before that, Clay Guida took on Scott Holtzman. Clay Guida winning by split decision. Close fight. Scott Holtzman, to me, he was announced before the fight that he was retired. He, to me, kind of felt like he was retired. It felt like to me like he was trying to get one last highlight reel knockout where he was measuring, loading up, a lot of high kicks, a lot of like overhand rights, and he didn't throw enough, because if you do that, you have to fight that way. Guida was smart, always darting around, never really gave him a chance to really, he was like a guy in a scope, and if someone's or like a bow and arrow looking in, and the guy's darting back and forth, it's a lot harder to get your bow and arrow on the guy. And then Guida does what he does, drops on, got some takedowns, and there was a moment I had it 1-1 heading into the third. The third round was close. It was up in the air, and Guida got a takedown about, I don't know, maybe about 45 seconds, 50 seconds left in the fight. And you just see Scott Holtzman like pin his back against the cage. He does a big like, and I'm like, no, dude, that was your moment. Like, this is your last fight ever. Like, dig yourself deep. We'll walk up and get up. And he just didn't do it.
Dude, how many fighters win their announced retirement fight?
The guys that they really try getting that one for, Frank Yeager didn't. That's the one I just thought of.
The great shining example for me will always be Chris Lytle.
Okay.
But, and he stayed retired.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah. Not coming. If you lose to Clay Guida in 2022, it's probably a good idea to retire.
Yeah.
So, what will you remember Scott Holtzman by? He used to be a hockey player.
Only because you just told me that now. If I knew that, I had forgotten. Dude, I feel bad saying this because anybody who makes it to the UFC, especially in one of those middle divisions, 145 through 170, the worst one of them is one of the 100 best fighters in the world in his weight class. And Holtzman was that for years, but he's one of the more forgettable fighters.
Yeah. The hockey thing, the nickname Hot Sauce, which now if you say hot sauce, you think Dustin Poirier.
Dude, Boss is up here saying more like mild sauce. Like, damn, dude.
Yeah. Terrible fight. We knew this next fight was going to be terrible. Michael Johnson versus Mark Diakiese. I don't want to talk about it. Go ahead, go for it, Brian.
It was better than I expected, and Michael Johnson did what he needed to do to win. And that sounds dismissive of me, but considering that most of the time Michael Johnson doesn't do what he needs to do to win, I'm paying him high praise. Like, dude, Johnson went out, he leveraged the areas where he had an advantage, and he won, arguably won all 3 rounds. It was a solid performance out of Michael Johnson at this point in his career. I mean,
yeah, I had him too. I gave him the second and third. I gave the first round to Diakese, but I'm okay with him.
I'm fine with that. But yeah. Dude, Diakese joins a new team for me. Like, we've, anyone who's watched this show for a while or done as many shows with me as you have, I've got my Scream at the TV team.
Yeah.
Johnson has belonged to that forever. Now that John Dodson is gone, Johnson's probably he's like the president of it. Mark Diakese joins a club. He joins the look like Tarzan, fight like Jane club, because he is up there with Jin Yu Fry, Shek Congo, and Lyman Good for the people that, for as much ass as it looks like they should kick, they kick so little.
I know.
A guy that looks like Mark Diakese, a guy that looks like a fighter from a video game or a movie, and then just goes out and either lays on people or loses a crummy kickboxing match and acts like he just slew, just killed Osama bin Laden or something. Like, dude, what the fuck?
What was that movie? Oh God, it was probably early 2000. I think Bruce Willis was in it, and I think I'm not a movie buff either. Who's the guy from the wrestler? What was that guy's name? Mickey Rourke. Mickey Rourke.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Mickey Rourke was in it, and it was a movie where it was like a gangster movie or something, but some reason they highlighted colors, they'd make a bright neon blue. They'd have a dark alley and
Sin City.
Sin City. Yeah, you look like a character from Sin City with a bright red.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm yeah, I'm getting killed by the list isn't killing me. Bruce Willis movie. I don't know how to say his name. True shots. He narrowed it down to 100 movies. And better if I said, that movie with the guy.
Yeah.
Diakese. I honestly don't know if there's a guy in the UFC I like watching less. I just don't like this guy. There's nothing about him I like. And I'm not anti-wrestling. He wants to wrestle, and he tried wrestling a lot. And he what he is? He's an he has a good entry, but because he didn't grow up wrestling, he doesn't have B, C, D, and E. He only
it's what it said about Rodolfo Vieira. If he can't just physically pick you up when you sprawl, right. he doesn't have a second idea.
He doesn't know what to do. If I have this he's never really scrambled and this and that. And guys, I am not in. The only 2 things I did today. All day today. It's literally the 2 things I did today. I tape studied for the preview tomorrow, and while that was going on one computer, I was watching the Kif Clean Classic Invitational all day long. And Luke Wilson is in the chat, who I was chatting it up with all day today. You can contest to that. So that's actually I was doing last night and tonight. So I love wrestling. So speaking of wrestling, Darren fucking Elkins took on Jonathan Pierce in the absolute Darren Elkins way, where Darren Elkins got beat up as bad as you'll see, blood all over the place. But he had this moment that is the most Darren Elkins thing ever, where he's completely, the blood is everywhere. It looks like a horror movie. And the referee stopped it. I think it was Dan Margoleta. I'm not really sure who it was. I think it was Dan Margoleta.
No, it was Dan.
Yeah, Dan Margoleta stopped it. And there's Darren Elkins. They check his cut. It just bleeds all over the place, and he just stands there and he sticks his tongue out and goes ah. And I shared the picture. I fucking love this guy. The guy's getting brain damage for our pleasure, but God, I love him.
And this was a Darren Elkins fight, only without the final act. And this is what the rest of the Darren Elkins fights are going to look like. He's going to get beaten bloody, and you're just not going to have that feel-good comeback. It's going to be ugly.
Yeah, and Luke just summed it up perfectly. Like, we love Elkins, but like we're accomplice to a crime when we watch these fights. Like, we're the ones who like we're the ones where a street fight happens and one guy's getting the ass kicked, or like a group of people are beating up one person, and instead of like calling the cops, we're like videotaping, saying like World Star or oh, I got to get this on freaking Instagram or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, that's us. Our TikTok, my TikTok views gonna go through the roof. Yeah, that's like poor Darren Elkins is taking one for our TikTok views. Pierce fought the perfect fight possible. Long, rangy kicks, enough where he can do damage. If Elkins catches it, he has enough time to react because he's the longer, lengthier guy. I really think there might have been a stoppage. So Pierce took down Elkins, I think it was maybe about like half a round or three minutes or so left in the third round. And that's when they checked the cut. And Dan Morelli forgot to put him back down, because I think Pierce was going to stop him there. Because when Pierce was on top of him, he was mauling. I mean, he was mauling him everywhere, but really bad when he was on top.
Yeah, it's a big goof up. And, I mean, I don't think it changed the tenor of the fight. But if this had been a higher stakes fight or a closer fight, dude, that would have been bad for Dan.
Yeah. Pierce is now 5-0 at featherweight. He's looked really good. He's improved a lot. Again, you mentioned one championship. Reneo Dorado getting mauled will be the beatdown of the year, but this is the candidate too. Like, this won't win, but gets like in our honorable mentions. It was that bad. Pierce moving forward, like, now he's on a 5-fight winning streak. We got to do something with this guy. Like, what do you want to see him do next?
I steer him clear of the formation of like undefeated fighters that's still cruising. Keep him away from Arnold Allen. Keep him away from the winner of Topuria versus Mitchell.
You say Arnold Allen? Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
Keep him away from Arnold Allen.
Yeah.
He's like next for a title shot.
I'm saying give him somebody kind of like him that's he's lost a fight in the UFC, but he's on a good streak and he's on the border of the top 15. I say Sadiq Youssef.
Ooh, I like that.
And it'd be a hell of a fun fight.
Yeah,
like, just the contrast in their styles would be a lot of fun. And I want to see Pierce in a couple more fights that go the distance where he's not just cruising and kicking ass. Because even though he's been fine, he's been great, he looks unsustainably huge at 145. To me.
Yeah, oh yeah, he does. Like, he looks like welterweight.
Like, Alan McDonald says JSP versus Julian Erosa. I like that. I think he slaughters Erosa, but I think it's a hell of a fight.
Yeah,
I think same for think same for Feely, because Feely right now to me is kind of in the same boat as Elkins. Like, underrated wrestling is pretty much the best tool he has left.
Yeah, it seemed like Feely's name got thrown out a couple times. Ben Cooley threw out Bryce Mitchell. Bryce Mitchell has a huge fight this weekend.
But if he loses, to Topuria, shoot, do that.
Yeah,
because they're both young enough that they'll be back. One or both of them will be back.
We were in the same like thought frame, not the same person, but the same thought frame of like another featherweight that's rising up the rankings and kind of matching them against each other. I went with Joe Anderson Brito.
Oh man,
I figure the speed, the power, his style,
speed, like, because Pierce is like long and rangy, but he's not blindingly fast, and Brito is, and just that dude has got bricks.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Like, stylistic matchup. Speaking of a stylistic matchup, Natan Levy versus Genaro Valdez. We kind of like said, like, rankings wise, this fight isn't something that's going to move forward the rankings, but we did say it's going to be fun, and this was a hell of a fun fight. Those kicks, and Natan Levy won a unanimous decision over Valdez. Those kicks from the southpaw stance were beautiful.
And dude, yeah.
And Valdez, what a fucking tough dude. See, Darren Elkins got me swearing a lot now.
Yeah.
And guys, once we hit the 3 o'clock, we hit the 3 a.m. mark. That's all. Swears are allowed now. Once we're past midnight on the West Coast, let them fly. The national anthem played. That national anthem already played. Not many people would get that reference. Me and Ben are old enough to get that reference.
Yeah.
The guy, he possibly broke his foot. I mean, it was, if not, I mean, it's swollen like it looked like he had a football attached to his foot. Took a beat down. So Levy started slowing down. The only issue the Valdez has, the toughness was there and the cardio and the output was there. He just didn't have the takedown defense to stop the desperation shots from Levy when he was tired, and that was the difference. Because his toughness can't be questioned. He is fucking tough.
Absolutely. And really, the fight kind of hinged on that. Levy won the third round on all the judges' scorecards, and a lot of it was getting gassed out takedowns and just sort of throwing the fight into the mud.
Yeah, Levy's fun to watch. I mean, he's limit. He's never going to be anywhere close to a contender, but he's fun, and this was a really fun fight. Before that, and we can kind of lump these two next fights together if you want, but Young Guns took off. 23-year-old Francis Marshall took on Marcelo Rojo. Marshall was a guy that we kind of talked up a little bit coming off the Contender Series. We both picked him. He looked great. 23 years old, coming into his power, showing his power, gets a knockout. I love that he also wrestles. Like, I love that he's wrestling, throwing hands, a mixture of everything. Seeing an old guy like Kurt Pellegrino kind of having an up-and-coming student. Just like a feel-good story. I like this kid.
Me too. And coming into this, I mean, he's entering one of the most crowded, one of the most competitive divisions in the UFC. He is 6 or 7 wins away from even talking about the rankings. He's going to lose a fight or two here or there. He's still a work in progress, but for as young as he is, he feels pretty ready for prime time. Marcelo Rojo isn't a great 145er, but he's a solid 145er, and Marshall just absolutely trucked him.
And the story behind the scenes, and Jusak's kind of referred to, is the whole, and we'll get into this a little bit tomorrow, the whole debacle with James Krause. James Krause is the head coach of Marcelo Rojo. They came out, Hunter Campbell told the fighters that, one, James Krause was completely removed when he was going to coach Miles Johns a couple weeks ago. Now it's come out, not only can he not coach, if you go to his gym, you're not allowed. From my understanding, Derek Minner's gone out of the UFC.
Yep.
And they kind of made an exception for Rojo because they made the rule like a day before. But sounds like moving forward, we will not see a team that was kind of killing it in Galarian MMA. And this is a huge story that we're not doing it 308 maybe. And honestly, we need people who really follow this to kind of, because there's so many things that get put out there. You know how everyone talks the situation. I want someone who really followed this. Know that maybe we'll get like an Aaron Bronstead on it who's really been doing really good research on this and kind of tell us what really is happening and what's rumors and people talking. But as far as I know, James Krause was not allowed to coach him. I don't know if it's true, but I heard James Krause might have bet on Francis Marshall. not good of me to say that after I said don't put the rumors out there. Anyways, and before that, and I apologize if I butcher this name, Yasmin Jauregui took on Estela Nunes. God, I love this girl. She looks fantastic. Amazing.
She is absolutely psycho. She is aggro as hell. I'm trying to think of the last woman that got to the UFC that was just this out and out, just like vicious. And it's either Nadia Kassem, who was a lot of fun, but just ended up not quite being UFC level, or like Jessica Andrade. And that was a long time ago, you know, like she's awesome. And she's
fantastic. Young. She fights at a huge, high pace, a lot of pressure. Obviously she has power. She's only 23. She looks like a top 15 fighter right now. Like if we were ranking, obviously the way we do, behind the scenes, and both me and Ben are very active in the rankings. Rankings go by accomplishments, who you beat. It's not an eyeball test.
It's not who we think you would beat. It's what you have actually done. But on talent.
But if it was eyeball test, she's in my top 15.
I mean, dude, our number 15 strawweight coming into this weekend, like it'll change tomorrow, was Emily Ducote.
Yeah,
I like her against Emily Ducote.
Oh, so do I. How about who beat her? Angela Hill. Her and Angela. Oh, actually, her and Angela Hill right now. Holy Christ, what fight that'd be! But she's young. Don't give her someone like Angel Hill that much experience. But
Yeah.
like if she beat her, I wouldn't have been surprised. But she busted up Estella Nunes. You see her forehead? It's like, oh, freaking looked like
Yeah.
Joanna versus
And
Weili won. Where her
and we're talking about like a decorated striker.
yeah. Who hurt her and almost knocked her out in the first like minute.
Yeah.
So there you guys have it. We've covered all the fights. Let's get to the fun stuff. We'll do these a little quicker than normal because we've already done Dude Seriously, and it's getting really late. The Bulls and the Bears, the Cutlass. Let's keep it negative. Let's go Cutlass, Ben, and we'll throw it out to the chat. We'll read people's cut list. The way with the cut list is, if both me and Ben both say that this person no longer deserves a spot in the UFC, we give the UFC permission to cut them to bring in new talent, but they have to be on both Ben and my list. I have two people, Ben.
Okay, you have two people. I have one. And
hold on, I did not count Scott Holtzman because he's retiring.
Then and
one of those, I'm firing you, but I'll let you resign kind of thing.
You can't cut me because I quit.
Yeah.
I only have one, but
okay.
I'm open to being convinced.
All right. So even though I think there's talent there, and even though she's already 30, but I think there's talent, and she's kind of facing pretty tough competition so far in the UFC. Estella Nunes is 0-3 now. So I cut her. I let her go back to go. I know she came one championship, she won a bunch of other scenes, but send her back. Send her on a regional scene, maybe get 1 or 2 wins, then bring her back. But right now, I cut Estella Nunes.
I'm fine with that. Like, she wasn't on my list, but I'll take it. She can go back to 1 championship and fight Angela Lee at anything weight. Oh,
jeez. RC Kim is hilarious.
Dude, yeah, RC slays me on the rag, and that keeps disappearing because you and I both keep trying to put it up there. Yeah, all right, there we go. Got to do it while your hands are healthy, so you can hit those like 15 keys or whatever they are.
Yeah, see, me and you couldn't do the stenographer because we our fingers are not that good, dude. Nice job, RC Kim. I already announced my listener of the evening, but that's the line of the evening. It's nice job.
Yeah. Performance of the night bonus for sure. I think the other cut list is a pretty obvious slam dunk here, right?
Marcel Rojo.
Yeah, I mean he's 0-3 in the UFC.
Yeah, that's who I was going with.
Yeah,
like I wouldn't mind not seeing DKC ever again, but like he's lost one fight. He's lost one fight. He's lost one fight, and it was like he lost, but it was close.
Yeah, I don't look forward to his next fight, but he's earned it.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the Bulls and the Bears. The Bulls and Bears are a stock market reference. If it's a good night, you want to be on the Bulls list. We do it hockey style. I'm butchering this. It's late, and we do it hockey style 3, 2, 1. If it's a bad night, you might be on the Bears list. So you want to be on the Bulls list. You don't want to be on the Bears list. Let's go with the Bears again. Let's keep it negative. Ben, I'm gonna go first. Is that okay?
Go for it.
I'm gonna go with Emily Ducote. My number 3, Emily Ducote. She won, like you said. There was a lot of hype on her. She was a favorite against Angel Hill. She looked freaking terrible. She looked like bottom of the UFC talent. Like sent her down to the regional scenes. It was that bad. She got smoked in a fight that she was a pretty hefty favorite. My number 2. I'm going to go with the referees tonight. I think the referees were terrible. I mean, I think we had the most grabbing offense in the longest time that I can remember. We had groin strikes that were close.
No nut November is definitely over for the UFC. Everyone's nuts are getting plastered.
Then we had elbows to the back of the head at one point. We had stopping a fight, and then then we had in the main event where Derek Holland get knocked in the nuts. He stops the fight like the fight's all over, and then goes, do you get hit in the nuts? Oh, okay, then it's not all over. And then we also had picking up Darren Elkins, clean them up, and then not put him back in the same position. Just all together. Yeah, I do think the refs get more hate than they deserve. Tonight is not the example. Like, they were bad. And my number one, and I don't always pick the main event, but this one I do. Kevin Holland. It's 2 massive fights in a row. He got smoked. Shemaev, I give him a little pass, but it's every single time he's in a major fight, almost every time he loses. He's got to start winning. So Derek Holland. Ben, give me your list.
Okay, let's go with, and I agree with all yours for sure, but number 3, Entrim Gym. Mexico's arguably top gym. You know, especially if Brandon Moreno goes back there with a quickness now that Glory MMA is on fire. They were in the first 3 fights of the night. They went 1-2. I mean, Yasmin Jauregui looked great, which is why they're only my number 3 bear instead of my number 1 bear. But Marcelo Rojo lost horribly, and Genaro Valdez lost pretty badly. So not a great night for the south of the border talent factory there. Number 2, Tai Tuivasa. I said this on the preview. In knocking out Derek Lewis, I think he's sort of became the new Derek Lewis. He's a guy that is going to knock out a bunch of dudes, and his job is going to be pretty safe for a long time because he's lovable, because his fights are usually exciting. But we've definitely seen him hit his ceiling. I mean, he hit his first ceiling a few years ago where it's like, does this dude even train? Because he lost 3 in a row to bad fighters. Now he's lost 2 in a row to good fighters. But yeah, like Tai Tuivasa just became a heavyweight action dude tonight.
All right, that's good.
And those are actually the only 2 I'll throw out there. Like, yeah.
Sorry. All right, let's go to the Bulls. This is the list you want to be on to answer Chase Thomas's. This is the good one. Ben, give me your Bulls. Who had a good night for you?
It might have been at least partly due to his dance partner, but Eric Anders. Like,
yeah,
might be the best win of Eric Anders' UFC run, or it's at least his best win of the last 2 or 3 years. That's a good one for me. Number 2, members of Ben's Scream at the TV team. For Angela Hill and Michael Johnson, who are 2 of the top 3 fighters in that group, to both win, and just both win by doing the things that they do well consistently, which is the only problem. Like Eric Anders isn't on my Scream at the TV team because I don't think he's that good. But Angela Hill has the skills to beat all but about 5 strawweights in the world on any given night. Michael Johnson has beaten all but about 3 lightweights in the world on any given night, and they just never fucking do. And tonight they did, and I don't have a headache. It's beautiful. Number 1, Roman Dolidze, man. Like, he's the right man at the right time. He's old enough that the UFC isn't going to fuck around. He is just blowing through all the obstacles in, like, the kind of thing we say about like scorching hot, really young prospects, but just each new obstacle they put in front of him, he kind of blows through it. He's got a personality on him. He is literally Mr. Steal Your Girl, because the thing he's second most famous for is like stealing a dude's girl. And
good for him.
I say, right guy, right time, because he is in a wide open division that, okay, it'd be even better if Adesanya was still a champ, because then they'd be like, oh, you haven't fought him yet, get up here. But even now, in the midst of all this chaos, he's still really well positioned. All he's got to do is win like 1 more fight, maybe 2.
Yeah. And you know, Ben loves people stealing girls because that's what he does. Because look at that handsome guy, soon to be 50, looking better than Conor McGregor. But watch out, Mrs. McGregor. Ben might come around.
Your wife send me DMs.
All right. Yeah, I had a lot of similar ones, so I'm gonna go with my number 3. I gotta mix it up a little bit. I'm gonna go with Matthias Nicolau. I mean, 4 wins in a row. We're talking about fighting for, title, maybe even weighing in for as a replacement or something like that. He's on that really short list. He even called it for himself, saying like, it was one of these ridiculous ones when people start calling for a title fight, like it fit right. Like, I'm ready for a title fight, and like it wouldn't shock me if he wins. So,
yeah, dude, 4
really
wins in a row, and he got no warm up. He fought Manel Kape in his first fight in the UFC. Like 3 of the 4 people have been top 10 fighters.
That was his first fight back in the UFC.
Yeah, sorry, his first fight back.
Yeah.
Like since
they cut him for some reason. He lost one
got-
fight and they cut him. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, he lost a fight at the time where they were cutting flyweights.
yeah.
I think it was like Dustin Ortiz. I think caught him.
Yep. Ortiz lanced him with a head kick.
My number 2, Sergey Pavlovich. 5 straight wins by first round knockout. We're calling him the, Russian Francis Ngannou. Was saying that he could win the title one day. This guy, and not only is he winning knockouts, but when you knock out popular people, that makes you popular. I'm not saying like he didn't steal Tuivasa's fans, but you're known a little bit now. It's
For sure.
It's why Aaron Blanchfield got an unbelievable performance, but she also had an performance off of Molly McCann, who's getting a lot of buzz. It kind of goes together. My number 1, and we didn't even talk about this in the main event, which we probably should have, is how the fight was stopped. The corner threw in a towel, and I know Kevin Holland kind of said he was done, but shout out to Bob Perez because he didn't do what we've seen other coaches do. Like, no, man, you're in it. You can win it. You can take him down and submit him.
Yell, give him the pep talk. And we're talking about a guy in Holland that he's new at Main Street, like Muay Thai and MMA. Like, it's not like he's been there for 10 years. Like, if there was ever an excuse for a coach to just kind of phone it in and be like, I'm more interested in maybe getting 15% of his win bonus than his actual long-term health, now would be the time to not give a shit. But, dude, that's not Bob Perez. And
no,
like, I know that like I'm a shameless homer for my town, but dude, Bob Perez rules. Like, he's such a good dude. And I'm not surprised at all that he kind of set a good example in this.
Yeah, and I wish we'd see more of that. We see it a lot in boxing. In fairness, a lot of time boxing trainers are established more. They've been around the sport a long time. There's like gazillion championships. You lose this title, you go win that title. So like, the guys are getting paid more money. So I wish it would be a little bit more of a norm. The issue with MMA is we've seen times where everyone's saying to throw the towel in and the guy actually comes back and win. But for every time that happens, there's 20 times where you should have thrown the towel in and this person didn't need more. Like, if Darren Elkins' corner threw in the towel in the third round, like, I wouldn't be complaining. Even though Darren Elkins is the guy who's done it, who's come back historically, and I go, oh my God, look at this guy. There was a couple of fights that there'll be a fight next week's card. We'll be saying, man, why didn't the corner throw in the towel? But they're not gonna. So it's so rare that we can. How many times have we seen? If you really think, how many times have we seen a cornerman actually throw in the towel? This time, I think of Nate Marquardt once when he was. I think it was what's his name? The guy he's fantastic coach, Kamaru Usman's coach, and
Trevor Whitman.
Yeah. Trevor Whitman threw in the towel. Of all people, Nick Diaz threw in a towel for Nate Diaz.
And dude, I mean, I could give a 10-minute impromptu sermon on that whole thing in like a positive light, but like the Diaz brothers, the ones who you think of as just being like the most hardcore, we don't give a fuck, we never quit dudes, was like, no, I love my brother more than I care about this fight, and it's just not our night.
The Gracies, who the honor, they actually threw a towel in after Royce Gracie got beat up by, I think he won, but he beat Kimo Leopoldo, and he was going to come out and he was going to fight. Who was he going to fight? He was semifinals. I'm trying to remember. I could see a big dude. Like, what was it? Oh, the guy. If you're coming on, come on.
Yeah.
Harold Howard. Harold
Howard, the mullet, the greatest mullet of the first 10 UFCs.
Yeah.
Like Jay Sachs mentions, like Duke Rufus stopped it for Pettis against Tony Ferguson. Okay. And that's where you'd expect it, because Duke Rufus has been a father figure for a guy that literally lost his father for like half his life.
Now, what is that, 5 or 6 times? 5 or 6 times in almost 30 years now?
Yeah. That's it.
It's actually, next year is 30 years in the UFC. Now, I know there's obviously Shudo and all that before that, but basically MMA's been around 30 years, and we came up with 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Jeez. Berhart's mom throwing the towel. God bless Mrs. Hart. All right. And I'm going to give you one more bonus. I'm going to give you a bonus one because we're having a good night. Phil Rowe's mom just finished chemo, her last chemo treatment, fighting cancer all the way. Good for you, miss. So Phil Rowe's mom, I know both me and Ben and everybody at Sherdog.
Yep. A hearty fuck cancer.
Yeah, we're rooting for you. So Phil Rowe's mom, you're our number one bull tonight. Toughest question: what is the grade of the card? I think it was a really freaking good one. I'll throw out to the chat.
Dude, mine, it's easy. A+. I think this is the best free card of the year from the UFC.
Wow. I went A-, but it was a freaking good card. I mean, we had possible fight of the year candidate. I think they were exaggerating. The commentating team was exaggerating a little bit.
Yeah,
but the main event.
We got one that it'll be on the ballot. Like, I'm putting together the ballot for the Sherdog year-end awards. It'll be on the ballot. We had at least one round of the year candidate that'll be on the ballot. We had one of the coolest finishes that you'll ever see that just is uncategorizable. I mean, dude, how many fight night cards have as dope a prospect as Yasmin Haurgi in the first fight?
No, yeah, it was good. It was good. That little stretch of fights I didn't care about keeps it from the A. Having to watch. A+. I had an A-. Having to watch, like Angel Hill winning. Like, it was fun. She did great, but like, I don't get too excited about seeing Angel Hill winning. Mark Diakese, having to watch him fight. I think he really is.
Dude, what am I thinking? I can't give an A+ to a card with Mark Diakese on it. Like, you're right. A-. Good call, true fact.
His chin being completely gone for a guy that at one point had a little bit of not a lot of buzz, but a little bit of a buzz. Like maybe a borderline top 15 guy.
6 months ago, we were saying he was the good Dawkins brother.
I know. now we're searching for a third Dawkins brother.
Yeah, it's like, is there a Dawkins sister? Like, is
that the good one?
How old is Ma Dawkins? Want to get out here, catch some hands? Yeah. Come on.
All right, listener of the even, and shout out to the chat, man. It is 3:27 a.m. People are bumping all day. The chat was wonderful. My listener of the year, he'd been killing me, coming at me. He was hilarious all night. I'm going with Chase Thomas. Yeah, and Charles Barker threw it, said that Holland told his corner that he was done. Chase Thomas is my listener. That guy killed me all day. I said it like an hour ago that was my listener. Ben, who is your listener of the evening?
You know what? And obviously the regulars, you know who you are. You're disqualified. You're emeritus. You can't win it anymore. You know who you are. Like, if you DM me on Twitter and I answer back, you're not allowed to win this. I would say, RC Kim like slays me on the reg. Like, RC's not allowed to win anymore either. RC should take my job. But Chase, young lady, always good to have you. Join us. I know the hours are weird, but always welcome here. Very.
There you go. And then the wonderful crew who came in was our listener to that. So there you guys have it. We have recapped UFC Orlando deeper than anybody who's ever recapped UFC Orlando. We will be back. Me and Ben are taping UFC 282 pay-per-view, the biggest pay-per-view of the year. Right? It's the biggest one ever. No, it's not the biggest one. It's
got Blachowicz versus Ankalaev. No, it is not the biggest.
It's the biggest one ever. So make sure you don't miss that. Both me and Ben will be doing that. And then we'll be recapping it again. Same time next week, next Saturday, late night. Stay up with us. We'll do it more. It's pay-per-view, so we'll have even more fun stuff to talk about. Thank you guys for listening. See you next time.